Yo, what's up guys? Yesterday I played another game, but it turns out that I forgot to press record button. So that's why I'm going to show you the game in an analysis board and explain the moves as usual. So let's go to an analysis board. Okay, so I've got my moves on the phone. So the game started with e4. I am white and my opponent is black. E4, e5, then I play knight f3, intending to go for the Italian in case of knight c6, but my opponent played d5. Now I've seen this move before and I knew what the best response is, and that is to take the pawn with the pawn. Then he goes forward attacking my knight. Here I play queen e2 to pin the pawn, and now essentially the capture is impossible. My opponent went knight f6. I knew that the main line is something like queen e7, but he played knight f6, and then I was out of book, so I continued with knight c3, which seemed reasonable. And the point is obviously to attack the pawn. I don't care about this one because I already took a pawn, so if I win the pawn on e4 I'll be up a pawn even if I lose d5. He blocked the diagonal with bishop e7. Now he's threatening to take because the pawn is no longer pinned, so that's why I take the pawn. He castles, and then I play this move d3. The point is obviously to solidify the knight, and I don't care about losing d5 because I'm up 2 pawns, and when you're up 2 pawns you can afford losing 1 pawn just to get developed. So I did that. So opponent accepts the pawn. Then I go h3. The point of h3 is to prevent bishop g4, and it turns out that h3 was a little bit slow. I'm gonna show you later in analysis. My opponent goes rook e8. Then I go queen d1. The point is to bring out the bishop and then castle. Opponent goes knight c6, just developing the knight. Then I play bishop e2, also blocking the diagonal, I guess, blocking the file, because there was some threats of playing f5, and then when my knight moves, the bishop could move with double check, and this would be mate. So that's why this move is important to block the file. He goes bishop f5, and here I'm thinking, okay, I shouldn't allow this exchange because then my pawn is isolated here and my structure would be damaged. So I thought about, okay, what about knight e2? But this seems a bit too passive because it also blocks my dark square bishop. So I ultimately settled on the move knight g3. The point is obviously that it attacks the bishop, so now the bishop has to move and then I will castle, and that happens. Bishop goes back, I castle. Okay, now I'm clearly up a pawn and I'm developed. So now I just need to basically convert this game. He goes bishop d6, and I'm thinking about, okay, bishop d6, what's the point of this move? To attack the knight, but if he takes, I take with the pawn, let's say queen here, then I can tuck my king on h2 and it defends the pawn, and the king is totally safe, surrounded by 3 pawns. So that's why I didn't move the knight at all, I just continued developing. I played bishop d2 because that was the only reasonable square for the bishop, if I went bishop g5, then he could just go f6 and I would have to go back, so that's why I played bishop d2. He goes bishop f4, and this was obviously a weird move. The point is that if I take, he takes with the knight, and then he would get the knight for the bishop exchange, but this bishop is bad anyway, so I was thinking about, okay, I should probably take, why not? But then I spotted a tactical detail. Now notice that the bishop is defended by the knight, but I can play c4, and if I go c4, first thing that you need to calculate is if he moves the knight away, I take the bishop for free, so I'm up a piece. Okay, but what is if c4 and then he takes my bishop? Well, then I take his knight and I'm attacking his other knight, and the bishop is still hanging. So I'm attacking two pieces at once. So that's why c4 wins a piece. It's a hidden tactic, but I spotted it, so that was great. I go c4, and my opponent obviously then sees the threat, so he just goes back and gives up the bishop entirely. Probably the best try for him was to go something like knight here, to at least get the pawn for the piece. But yeah, he went knight back. I took the bishop. Then he went knight h5. Obviously the point is that he is attacking the bishop, but I can just trade, so I did that, because why not, I'm up a piece. And then I could move the knight away and try to get some more trades, but if I move the knight away, he can just go back and put the pressure on the pawn. So I was like, okay, let's play it safe and let's just develop more pieces. So I played rook e1 to develop my rook and also support the bishop. If my queen ever goes away, the bishop is defended. He goes queen d6. The point of this move is probably just to bring the rooks in and connect the rooks. I go queen b3, attacking the b7 pawn. So he defends by pushing it. Then I go rook d1. He develops his other rook, rook d8. And then I found this move queen b5. The point is that I'm pinning the knight because I was thinking about some discoveries on the bishop, but I didn't want to risk anything because the position was messy and we were both like, I don't know, we had 3 minutes or something on the time, so I didn't want to risk it. So I found this move. The point is that the knight is pinned, so maybe some ideas of knight e5, and I'm also attacking the bishop. So my opponent goes back, and then I push d4. The point is that I want to go to d5. My opponent goes rook e4. He's obviously now threatening to take, and he's also attacking my bishop. So only one move makes sense, and that is bishop e3 to defend the pawn. Then he goes f6. Now this move is a bit strange because it just weakens the king, and I don't know what's the purpose of this move. And I also noticed that I can trade pieces now. I can go, first of all I had to consider d5 or bishop d3, but I decided on bishop d3 just to exchange the bishops. So I play bishop d3, he goes back to e7, and I take, and he takes, and then I push d5. Obviously now I want to exchange the queens, and I had to calculate that after knight here I can take, obviously, but he can take my knight with check. But I'm up a piece, so I don't care about damaging my structure, so that's why I went for this line. Because I could, when the knight moved there, so the knight went here in the game, I could take the knight, but I don't know, I just decided let's be safe, let's exchange queens. Because now I'm noticing that it doesn't really make a difference, because if he doesn't want to queen trade, then he just loses a piece, because my knight took his knight, so yeah. But I didn't see that in the game, I don't know why. So I went ahead and traded queens, and he did take the knight with check to damage my structure. But again, it doesn't matter, because I'm up a piece, I'm just up a full bishop and a pawn. So I go, now I'm noticing that c6 is a threat, because obviously if c6 I cannot take, because then take, and I lose a rook. So that's why I went bishop f4. The point of this move is to meet c6 with d6 to push the pawn. He went forward with the king, and then I started doubling my rooks. And then he played a weird move, rook e8. Why is this a weird move? Because he's down a piece, so why would he want to exchange pieces? Because I was thinking, yeah, maybe he can go here to put pressure, but then I just go up. But he went rook e8, and I just traded rooks, because why not? I mean, I'm up a piece. And then I occupied the only open file with rook e2, because this is the only file that doesn't have pawns on it. So it's an open file, so I want my rook to be on it. He just goes back. Then I plant my rook on e6, supported by the pawn. Obviously, if he goes forward, I take with the rook, not with the pawn, because then I would lose my rook. I mean, here it would actually work out, because if he went c6, I take, he takes, I can take his rook, and he takes my pawn. But yeah, generally, I would take with the rook. Then he goes g5. I just go back, because my bishop is attacked. Then he's just pushing some pawns, expanding. And then here I'm thinking, okay, what's my plan? So my rook is great, my bishop is laser beaming the whole position. My king is not doing anything, and it's an endgame, so I have to bring my king in. So I go ahead and play king f1. He goes g6. I go king e2. He goes f5. I go king d3. Here you have to be careful of any, because there is a pin. So any tactics involving the pin, but there are not, because I can just take if he goes forward. Here I miss this move, f4. Now my bishop is locked in jail, but I can always get it out with a move h4. The point of h4 is, if he takes, I take here and my bishop is out, and if he doesn't take, then I will just take and take. So this is an important detail to see. But even if I couldn't get my bishop out, because obviously I cannot move this pawn, so that's why it's trapped. Even if I couldn't do that and we exchange the rooks, in an endgame I could just spam the moves here, and he would have to move the king, so I would go in with my king and win the pawns. So it was winning anyways, even if I didn't have this detail. Now I went ahead and pushed my king. He went back. I don't know why, I don't understand his moves. Now I attack the pawn, and he goes back. So he just wasted the tempo. I mean, 2 tempos basically. And now I'm thinking about, okay, how can I make progress? I could go h4, or I see a potential of a pass pawn. He has 3 pawns, I have 4 pawns, so if I trade everything, I'm left with 1 pawn and I can just push it. So I start with a3, the point is to go b4, take, take, go c5, take, take, and then go d6, take, take, and here is my best pawn. He goes rook e7, probably intending to infiltrate, but if he went there, then I take with check and then I just push the pawn. I went ahead and played b4, he takes, I take, then he goes back, so he's just shuffling his rook. I play c5, he takes, I take, then he goes rook back to e7, and then I play d6, he takes, I take, and he goes here. I could go rook c7, but I decided on just pushing the king, everything wins here. He went king f6, I went rook c7, obviously I want to exchange the rooks, but he declines. I go ahead and bring my king closer. Now he's attacking my pawn and it seems like I cannot defend, because if I go here then he takes, but I can give a check and now his king has to move away, and then I just play rook e1. Now his king is cut off, and I could also obviously play h4 to get my bishop out to help, but I wanted to demonstrate how to win with just, if I didn't have the bishop. So let's say this bishop was just gone and I would just have this pawn. So now the king is cut off by the rook and he goes rook a8, I go d7, he checks, I attack his rook. Obviously now he cannot check anymore, so he goes behind the pawn to stop it. But now I go back and he still cannot check me, so he goes back to d7, and now I just promote with check. So he has to take, I take, and then he goes king f5, he's still trying to win, even though he was probably hoping on stalemate or something, but I had enough time to convert this game. Then he went back, I went rook a5, he went back again, then I unleashed my bishop with h4, he takes, I take, he goes back with the king, so this is basically his, I don't know why he didn't resign, but probably he just wanted me to prove that that I can convert this game or something. And then he went g5. Here my bishop is just defended, so I'm just winning both of his pawns, so that's what happens. Take, take, and here he resigns. So here I would just go, no, he ran out of time. He ran out of time. But in this position I would just go bishop g3 and then just bring my rook in and checkmate the king with rook and king. I could also push the pawns, but this rook and king plan just seems simpler. So now let's go to the review of this game. And I also found a way to do a higher depth review, which I'm gonna do in the next video. Because as you can see, I put a depth of 22 now on the review, but I can do depth 30, but it just takes some time to do it. So now let's see the review of this game. So this is all theory. I play queen e2. Now here you have to know that after he unpins himself, you just go knight d4. Let me enable the lines. Yeah, knight d4. knight d4, and then the main line goes knight f6, and then knight c3 to defend. So I'm basically just up a pawn. He cannot get the pawn back with if we both play good moves. But yeah, in the game, oh, this is actually the best move. I didn't even know. I thought queen e7 was the main line. Okay, I develop my knight. I take, and yes, here I should have exchanged the knights, and just d4 to just occupy the center. Obviously, if he pins me, I can just block the pin. And yes, he can take this pawn, but I'm still up a pawn, so I can afford giving away this pawn. Now computer here wants to trade the queens, and the line goes on. But in the game, I went d3 to support my knight. He takes, I played h3, and now he's winning actually, but only if he finds f5. Now the point of f5 is hard to see. The point is f5, my knight goes away, he takes, he plays rook here. Obviously now I cannot block because he has f4, so I would have to move my king, or computer is now saying knight d5, but you can see that my position is shaky. But he didn't find this move, and that's why this rook e8 move is a miss. So I moved my queen away, and here he had a crazy idea, again involving f5. And if I move my knight, so I shouldn't move my knight, I should just give away the knight. If I move my knight, wait, let me disable the lines. If I move my knight, now here is a puzzle for you guys. What is the best move in this position? It's a pretty nasty move. So the move is bishop b4 checkmate. This is a check by a rook and by a bishop, so double check and mate. But we both missed this move, so that's why queen d1 was a blunder. He went ahead and developed his knight, and then I blocked. Now this doesn't work anymore because the rook doesn't see the king anymore, so I just block the bishop with c3. He develops his bishop, I drop back, castle, and then I develop. Now this is a mistake because I don't know, it's too slow. But let me enable the lines. But as you can see, I'm clearly better. I'm up a pawn, and also the position is better for me. He goes here, which is obviously like a blunder, I guess, because of c4, and this is also the top move, and I found it in the game. c4 wins a piece, and then I trade the knights. I go rook e1, I put my queen on b3, and then this move is a blunder. But it's hard to see because he has to first of all sack the exchange, and then you will see the point. So he takes, let's say I take with the rook, he takes here, I take, and then he has knight d4 with a fork, and he wins back no, he actually wins a whole rook. King g2 top move. What? Wait, what if I move the queen? Knight takes check, because obviously I cannot defend my rook, because the knight would take the queen. Wait, so he takes, I play king here, and then he gets a bishop. Okay, I guess that's why king e1. So I guess that's why sacking the queen is better, because here he gets a queen, I get a knight, so this is 6 points, but in the line that I just showed you, he wins a rook and a bishop, so he's +8. But yeah, we obviously both miss that, because this is this is hard to see, a computer line. He develops his rook, I attack the bishop, so he slides back. Then I just push my pawns. First of all I traded the bishop, and then I pushed d5. I take, he takes, take. And then here I'm just clearly winning, as you can see the engine says +6. And I converted the game. And I didn't make any inaccuracies, my plan was great. Here I just get the passer and cut off the king. All of the moves were best, but these moves are easy to find, because here he doesn't have any checks, only move is to go back, but then I go back and he cannot check me, so promotion is inevitable. I promote, I get my bishop out, win the pawns, and yeah, here he wait, yeah, this one. Here he lost on time. So yeah, that was the game, and let's go again. Let's just I'm just gonna repeat myself in the opening. Here again you have to remember this move. So I'm just gonna show you what happens if I take this pawn with the knight. I'm still better, but not as much. Okay, this move I thought queen. What about queen here? Oh, I guess then I can support the knight. Okay, but yeah, this one it's not a mistake, because usually these gambits, if you take the wrong way, you're losing, but here you're definitely not. Wait, the best move is bishop d6. Okay, so attacking the knight, I go d4. D takes. Okay, so he takes. I attack the pawn. He takes. Okay, then I take, and then he takes probably, yeah. And then king takes. Yeah, king takes, because I'm still attacking the pawn. But now he can just probably go, yeah, knight here. And this is just equal. And my king is not castled. So that's why you have to remember to play e takes d5. And then you have to remember this move, because if you just move the knight away, I mean, there isn't really a good way to move the knight away. Computer is saying knight e5, but then you just run into these moves. So yeah, that's what you need to remember if you're facing this opening. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.